That's right, it is time for the big battles we have all been waiting for. I'm so incredibly hyped for them. What's up, everyone? It is Dylan from Class 1A bringing you another My Hero Academia chapter breakdown. This week we have chapter 345, Division. We pick up the chapter back at the start of the Second War. The heroes have just activated their grand plan against the villains. The trap to encase them in Troy's defenses was to get them in groups so Monoma can warp them to separate locations to isolate the battles. Okay, so here's phase 1 of the plan. We ambush them, get them into different groups, and warp them away. Honestly, this is really the only way they were going to stand against the villains. I mean, last time that we had the war arc, it was incredibly bloody, like the heroes barely won in the end, and both Shigaraki and AFO just weren't there. So not only have the hero numbers declined since then, but also because of the breakout of Tartarus, we've gotten more villains than we've ever had before. No chance they take it one-on-one. But just as they're being warped away, Deku gets grabbed and pulled into a portal he wasn't expecting. Okay, so first hitch in the plan, we'll see how bad it is. With Fat Gum on cleanup duty, Monoma heads back to Aizawa and we shift into phase 2. So I know he's just trying to shorten the name here, but All Might yelling fat makes me feel very uncomfortable. And we don't see any villains of note that are really left behind here, but I'm wondering if we'll actually come back here and see what Fat Gum is doing later. Our first group gets teleported to Gunga Mountain. Notable people here in this battle are All For One, Endeavor, Hawks, Tokiyami, and Kamui Woods. Okay, so a bit of a location recap here. Gunga Mountain was the Paranormal Liberation Front's headquarters before the war arc where Cementos destroyed it. So has All For One gotten new drip recently, or has he always had this incredible anti-resistant helmet? Okay, so we get a good breakdown here of the two different warp quirks. So Johnny's being pretty weak, you can't go too far with it. The actual warp itself can't take its own user, so a little bit weak here. But on the other hand, Kurogiri's is way stronger. So because of the range issues and him not being able to actually warp himself out of here, All For One is basically secluded. They warped him far enough away from all the other fights of where he can't warp in allies, so he's really all alone and he can't even leave. And we have the literal number 1 and number 2 hero here fighting against him, and for the most part only him. I know there's some other villains here, but none of major note. But I actually don't think they take the fight here. I still think they lose against All For One. The number 1 and number 2 hero are gonna lose against All For One. That's how strong he is. The next group we join is at the Camino Memorial Site, where we see the Todoroki family brawl with Dabi and Shoto. Alright, get ready. This is it. This is the fight right here. This is the fight we've been waiting for so long. This is going to be incredible. And this panel here is just so incredible. I mean, look at it. Shoto with the power stance here, and Dabi strutting in the ripped and torn clothing. So incredibly hype, I love it. Okay, so quick location recap. This is Camino. This is the site of All For One in All Might's last battle, where All Might put everything he had into United States of Smash, put All For One into Tartarus, locking him up for the first time we saw it in the series, but also putting himself into retirement. So of course I didn't forget about Ida. I know I saw him in the scene, but I think for the most part, Ida is going to be working on cleaning up all the other villains, while Shoto and Dabi have their ultimate battle here. Then at a giant floating UA that's 100% absolutely not sky high, we have Shigaraki, Bakugo, and Best Jeanist. Okay, hold up, give me a second. UA flies? Okay, so location recap. It's UA, but it's flying now. That's it, that's all you need to know. Okay, so first of all, flying UA absolutely rules, but in an effort to isolate Shigaraki, because we saw that it's talking about the warp and actually the location distance of it, so they actually really need to separate them pretty far. So to make sure that they're separated as far as possible, they literally took UA and then just sent it off into the sky so it can be completely isolated. Okay, so this matchup is kind of amazing. I know Deku was supposed to be in this one, the Deku versus Shigaraki fight was supposed to happen here, but Bakugo and Best Jeanist versus Shigaraki is kind of amazing, right? I mean, I love the dynamic between Best Jeanist and Bakugo. It's such a cool mentor-mentee relationship. I don't know, I just love their dynamic together, but seeing them go against full power Shigaraki is going to be wild. And I think Bakugo might be the only one who can actually do it besides Deku. So I don't think Bakugo actually defeats him here. And I also don't see Best Jeanist dying, because Best Jeanist kind of died already once. So I would assume it's not going to happen again, but this time definitely for real. And I don't see Bakugo defeating our big bad evil guy. Like, I know All For One kind of is our big bad evil guy, but it's really Shigaraki. So I still think we need the Shigaraki versus Deku fight. So expect those like escape pods that we saw a couple chapters ago to be in use here and how they actually separate away from each other. We end the chapter with our last group being Toga versus Deku, Uraraka, and Froppy. Okay, so I actually don't remember where this location is, like this aquarium. I'm drawing a complete blank here. So if you know, let me know in the comments down below because I'm drawing a huge blank. I actually don't remember where this aquarium is. Okay, so Deku was pulled in here by Toga, but his danger sense didn't go off. Okay, so obviously this is the most mysterious plan of all. Toga pulling Deku in here is throwing the original plan off by a lot, so it's a lot of unknowns going into this fight here. But like, why did she not set off his danger sense? I'm thinking that it's probably going to be a talk from here on out of like, they're going to sit down, they're going to talk, there's going to be feelings about something, and they're going to come up and talk about it. Now, I don't quite think it's going to be, let's talk about it, and then this gets turned into a happy friendship, Toga's now a good guy or anything like that. I don't think that happens. What I think happens is there's a talk, there's some rumbling happening with the feelings and everything, and then it's going to culminate into a fight at the end. So fully expect a Toga's version of Sad Man's Parade versus Deku here. It's going to be nuts. Okay, so this chapter absolutely rules. I love how they set up all these different fights. I'm so excited to jump into them and see how they all go down. And I think the most mysterious one is going to be Toga versus Deku and whatever is going to happen there. I think the other ones, we kind of know what's going to happen. We know how it's going to play out for the most part. But that one is the most mysterious. It is the wild card out of all of them. And so what actually happens next from here? I think it's pretty obvious actually for all the next stuff of like, we're just going to start jumping into these fights. And that is going to be the main focus of the second war arc. The ones I'm the most interested to see go down is Dabi versus Shoto and whatever's happening with Toga. They're going to be the ones that you really want to focus on for the interesting bits of the story here. So not a lot to break down actually in this chapter. It's more of a setup for all the amazing fights that we have coming up. So just get ready for it because honestly, this is going to be better than the first war arc. I know it's shocking, it's crazy, but it's going to be so hype. We're going to get so much awesome lore dump. We're going to get some amazing fights. It's going to be cool. It's going to be exciting. And make sure you're subscribed so you can join along as we go by this week by week. But until then, I will see you all next class.